or the hilt, as it's called. This is the guard. I call this the hilt many times, and it's incorrect. The hilt is the whole back assembly of the sword. This is the guard, and this is the grip. And on the end of the grip is what I'll refer to several times as the knight's head. If you'll zoom on in, I want to show exactly a couple of points, exactly how to properly handle the sword so that you handle the sword and it doesn't control you. When you're holding the sword at a carry, you should hold it in what is popularly called a pencil grip, with the thumb and the first two fingers around the grip of the sword and out near the knight's head. If you will practice using the sword or gripping the sword in the pencil grip with your fingers out near the knight's head, you'll be much more capable of handling the sword quickly and easily than if you let the sword get back in here. If you let the sword get here, it's going to control you. You will not control it. So always grip the sword this correct way with the pencil grip. The sword should be at your side. You zoom back out now. And your thumbs of each hand should be on the seams of your trousers. The proper position of the Sir Knight at attention is with the heels together and the feet at a 45-degree angle. Your body erect, shoulders back, the sword basically in the armpit of your right arm. Now, I'm going to go into the sword manual itself. The first move is called Sir Knight's Return Swords. The return is probably the hardest movement in the whole sword manual for 99% of the Sir Knights to do correctly, because they do not understand how many moves it takes to do it. And it takes, again, 3 moves to get in position to actually do the return. On the command, Sir Knight's Return, the first move is to bring the sword directly in front of your face to your left side. The second move is to tilt the scabbard forward and draw the sword upward through the fingers, or between the first finger and the thumb, putting the tip of the sword or point of the sword into the scabbard. The third move is to bring the sword to this position with the forearm parallel to the ground. At this position you stop until the captain gives swords. At that point, slam the sword into the scabbard and return the right hand to the right side. That is Sir Knight's Return Swords. Let me do that one more time. The draw again is Sir Knight's draw. 1, 2, swords. 1, 2. The return is Sir Knight's Return. 1, 2, 3, swords. 1, 2. And now we'll have to draw again to get the sword back out to continue. Sir Knight's draw. 1, 2, swords. 1, 2. Now Sir Knights, there's one point here. Again, we're working with the sword in the pencil grip. When you come back to a carry from this motion, do not draw the sword back over the shoulder and drag it down. That is incorrect, and you will be graded for it. You have to practice coming straight from this position directly to the shoulders. It takes a lot of practice, but it's worth it, because that's the correct way to do the movement. Now the next movement after the draw, or the return and the draw, is present swords. The present is done in one motion. The sword comes directly up with the guard in front of the chin and the grip, or your hand, about 6 inches from your throat. Please understand, the grip should be 6 inches from your throat. And the sword will be at an angle so that if you drop the plumb line from the point of the sword, that plumb line would be about 6 inches away from the guard. It wants to be about at that angle. Now I'm going to turn sideways and let you see about what that angle is. The sword blade will almost touch the tip of your chapeau, Sir Knights, if you're in the correct position. It's not out here, it's back here. This brings up a good point, that when you're doing the sword manual, you should always be relaxed. We many times see a Sir Knight doing the sword manual, and he gets the sword way up like this, and the shoulders are uptight, and you can tell just by looking at him that he is extremely nervous and uptight. So try to keep your shoulders relaxed. Another very important point in the sword manual is always keep your elbows at your side. There are a few exceptions to that, but you need to always practice the sword manual with the shoulders as relaxed and loose as possible, and always keeping the elbows near the side. If you do that, you will not make very many mistakes when doing the sword manual. Now we go back to the present. It's present swords. It's up in one motion. It's not like we see some knights doing like this. That is not correct. It is just straight up in one motion. Then the command to get back to a carry is just simply carry swords, and again you drop the sword back in one motion so that the blade is again right in front of the armpit. The present is the first motion of many of the other movements of the sword. The next movement in the sword manual is salute swords. Salute swords is done with two motions. Command is salute swords. 1, 2. Now if you recognize that, the first motion is present. If you follow what happened, in the first motion you came to present, and if you'll watch, the elbow is near the right side, it's next to the body. You just let the arm simply fall down from the elbow down, and the sword will almost automatically fall into the correct position. The correct position in this move is with the tip of the sword about 18 inches off the tip of your right toe. So you need to practice that. We see again many Sir Knights with the sword out here like this. Look where the elbow is. It's completely away from the body. That's very easy for a judge to see. Again, if you'll just let the arms hang naturally and the elbow stay next to the body, you will not make as many mistakes. And when you come up from the salute, it's carry swords. Again, you just roll or flip the sword up with one motion. Do it one more time. Salute, swords. 1, 2. Carry, swords, and up. The next move is inspection swords. And again, it starts with present. The command is inspection swords. You come up to the present, you roll the sword out with the fingers and the wrist, and you roll it back. That's 1, 2, 3. And again, to come back to a carry, it's simply carry swords. And the sword comes down. Demonstrate one more time with the correct cadence. Inspection swords. 1, 2, 3. Carry swords and down. This is the same motion that you will use when you're in open ranks being inspected before you go on the drill floor. There is a difference. When you're on the drill floor, you do this to a cadence. When you're being inspected, you have to wait for the first judge to come in front of you and face you before you do the second and third motions of inspection swords. If you do it too soon, he won't see it and you'll be graded. If you do it too late, he'll think you've forgotten it and you'll probably be graded. So just wait for the judge to step in front of you, the first judge, not the second. The second judge is not entitled to anything other than you standing at attention. The next move in the sword manual this year of the competition is order swords. This is another move which has been very often mistaken by several Sir Knights and drill teams. It is a two-movement or a two-count movement. Order swords. The first movement, the sword just rolls in your hand with the edge down 6 inches out in front of your right toe until it hits the floor. And then you, on the second motion, you drag the sword point up near the right toe and place the hand with the fingers, the first three fingers outside, the thumb on your left side, and the little finger on the right side, again, standing at attention, but the sword wants to be vertical, straight up and down. Now, we'll continue on because the next motion, or the next movement, is uncover. It's done with two movements. Command is uncover. You reach up on the first motion to grasp the tip of the chapeau, lift it off, and set it on the right shoulder with the second motion. The recover is exactly the reverse. It's just two motions. And they need to be distinct, and they need to be done in cadence. This is one that's, again, very easy for a judge to see. The whole team should be in the same cadence. Recover. 1, 2. What this requires is that your chapeau must fit pretty well. Actually, a little loose would be good, because if you have trouble getting that chapeau back on your head, and you have to sit here and fiddle with it to get it down, you're going to be graded. Let's do that one more time. Uncover. 1, 2. Recover. 1, 2. The next movement is stand at ease. On this movement, everything is done in one motion. First, the left foot goes to the left about a foot. The right hand and arm push the sword out as far as you can push it. If you have a short sword, you're not going to be able to push it very far. And at the same time, your left hand goes up behind your back, and I'm going to turn around and show you what that should look like. The fingers and the thumb should be together, and the hand should be resting parallel to where your belt would be if you were wearing a belt on the outside of your uniform. But again, the key is that the thumb and the finger should be flat and together. Okay? Go back to the front position. You're at ease. The feet are apart. Then the captain gives Commandry, attention. The feet come back together. The left hand comes back to the left side. And the sword comes back to the vertical. Again, a very common mistake is many Sir Knights will bring the sword all the way back to the trousers. That is not correct. It did not start there. When you put it down for the order, it started at the vertical with the hand away from the body. So be sure when you come back to attention, the sword simply comes back to the vertical. All right, then the captain will give carry swords, and in one motion you reach down and flip the sword up to your shoulder. The next movement in the sword manual is called swords port, P-O-R-T. It's just like port arms in the Army when you were handling a rifle. At the command swords port, you reach across with the left hand, grasp the blade with the left hand near the armpit, and on the second motion, draw it squarely across the body at about a 45-degree angle with the left hand about the same height as your left shoulder. And again, the thumb of the left hand should be away from the judge or towards you. It should be behind the blade. The right hand grasping the grip in the manner which you see. To return it, it's carry swords. You place it back against the armpit with the left hand, with the fingers extended as I'm showing you, and then drop the left hand to the side on 2. Let's do that one more time. Swords port. 1, 2. Carry swords. 1, 2. The next command, which many people get these two particular moves confused because of the similarity of the sound of the command, is support swords. You're supporting the sword. This one is a little bit difficult because some people, as you're watching me on this videotape, don't forget, you're watching a mirror. You have to remember that you have to practice this in reverse of what you're seeing on this videotape. It would be just like practicing in front of a mirror. On the command support swords, again you come back to present as the first motion. On the second motion, the sword comes down, the left arm comes up, covering the right arm, and you roll the sword away from you so that you can see the Texas emblem or the outer emblem of the sword. You drop the hilt or the guard into the crook of the left arm. The left arm is covering the right arm, and the thumb of your left hand is in the crook of the right arm. To get out of this or get back to a carry, again, it's simply carry swords, as it always is. The left arm drops to the left side. You come back to the present, and then down to the carry. Do that in cadence. Support swords. 1, 2. Carry swords. 1, 2. Okay?